Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. In today's edition, I don't want to do some spoiler alerts for you guys out there who haven't watched Saudi Tour or watched Valencia. So if you haven't seen those, you got to tune off because today's show is all going to be about Biniam Girmay and just a little bit about Jonathan Milan. Now, today's stage, when we're talking about down in Valencia in stage one, has a host of talent there racing for GC, and it's got a host of sprinters. You know, we're talking Movistar looks solid there. They got Cortines. And then we're talking Jumbo-Visma have Olaf Koy, the young sprinter who's been putting on a show throughout 2022 season. And now, of course, this is 2023, so you know Olaf Koy wants to put on a show with Jumbo-Visma. And then, of course, Biniam Girmay is there. Now, I wasn't even going to cover the bike races on today's stage, but when Biniam Girmay won, man, you got to cover it because this kid is fantastic. Remember, he won stages in the Giro last year, getting well with him, and of course he won down in Mallorca that started his 2022 season. So, he's already raced a couple times over in Mallorca, and today's coverage, the main reason why I want to cover it is because I've seen so much from Biniam Girmay from when we're talking about the races he did down in Mallorca and today's stage one at Valencia, the educational jump that he's made to understand when he needs to stay with his team and when he needs to leave his team is dramatic. The difference between the two races where he went podium at both stages in Mallorca, when we're talking about Palma and Salinas, where he went second and third in those races. But in those races, he was staying there with Mike Teunissen. Mike Teunissen leading him out on the rainy, miserable day in Salinas. And as they're coming to the finish, Mike Teunissen just had to back off the gas a little bit because it's a real technical finish coming in. Mike Teunissen had the lead. You had Biniam Girmay solidly on his wheel, and he's assuming that Mike Teunissen is easily going to get him into these last little twitchy corners and chicanes before the finish, but it's slippery and stuff, so Mike Teunissen has to back off the gas, and of course, he loses those stages. Still gets a podium on both. Now, the last stage of Mallorca, they're coming into a 180 turn with about 500 meters to go. And again, Mike Teunissen, his teammate that's new to the team, he's following him into that turn. But then Mike Teunissen doesn't make the turn at the front, gets Biniam Girmay too far back in order to win the stage. But both of those podiums that he had in Mallorca were fantastic rides and solid when you look at how good he was in his acceleration to come from 10th spot thereabouts and get himself all the way up on the podium. Now, here we go, stage one of Valencia, and we see as they're going over Col d'Orates that it's really with about 40 kilometers to go. Bahrain Victorious is all over the front pulling like crazy. Now, this didn't make any sense to me, and I'm going to call them a bunch of knuckleheads. And if you remember back in Slovenia on how they raced that race during those early stages 1 and 2 there, they did a miserable job, big-time knuckleheads last year's 2022 season when we're talking about Slovenia. And then I see them on the front here at Valencia pulling, and I'm thinking, guys, you don't have a sprinter. Got some GC guys that's not looking so bad here, but there's a bunch of other GC guys that can win here at Valencia. But you really don't have a sprinter. They're on the front from 40K to go all the way to about 20 kilometers to go, riding, I assume, for Fred Wright to lead him out in the finish. But I'm looking at the resume of Fred Wright, and I'm telling you, there's nothing on there to show that he's going to beat quality sprinters that's in this field. Now, of course, there were some sprinters dropped over Col d'Orates, but not that much, and you still have Olaf Koy, Cortines, and Biniam Girmay in this front group. And I don't believe Fred Wright's going to have the kind of pedigree to be able to win a pure sprint. The kid is good. He's shining great. Almost won stages of the Tour de France. So he's a good rider, but he's not a pure field sprint rider when we're talking about beating these other sprinters. So once we get under 20K to go, we see Jumbo-Visma on the front. We start getting a little bit further, under 7 kilometers to go. A little bit of attack from Escadiz Jumbo. He's throwing in a big dig, but a solo attack at this moment is not going to go that far when you have 3 and 4, if you count Bahrain Victorious, that won a field sprint on today's stage 1 of Valencia. So, John Ball gets brought back, 2.5 kilometers to go. We see the 3 big teams, Movistar, Jumbo-Visma, and we see Intermarché up there with Biniam Girmay all trying to do a great job for their sprinters. And we see Bahrain Victorious up there trying to get Fred Wright in there, but they are on the front. So 4 big teams coming into the finish. Now, under 2 kilometers to go It's the ex-road world champion Rui Costa that's on the front. The Portuguese rider's throwing down hard, but at this point in time in the race, Biniam Girmay's got to know he's in a bit of trouble. We're just under 2K to go, about 1.7, 1.8K to go. Rui Costa's got to mix in with Jumbo-Visma. Now, this is normally a no-no. I don't like mixing the teams. Anytime that I was getting let out, I don't like mixing in with the teams. You guys are like, Chris, you're not a sprinter. Yes, I'm not a sprinter, but sometimes I had to do the sprint because I'm racing for time bonuses. So I never liked when my teams mix with other teams unless they have to. Rui Costa makes the decision to mix in with Jumbo-Visma, and I agree with this decision at this point in time because there's only one other rider on his wheel to help Biniam Girmay do the sprint lead out. And that rider, I believe, is George Zimmerman. Now, as we look from the overhead picture as Rui Costa slots in behind Jumbo-Visma, we'll see Biniam Girmay now has got to fight a little bit with Olaf Koy there and a little bit bumping for position, and he's a little bit in the wind. That's why I don't like mixing with other teams. Doesn't take very long, though, before Rui Costa has to get on the front with 1.6 kilometers to go. And as we look back just behind, we see Zimmerman on his wheel, but then Jumbo-Visma's there, and then we see Biniam Girmay. Now, at this point in time, Biniam Girmay knows he's not going to get the 100% perfect lead out that you would normally see from like Quick Step's Michael Morkov leading out Cavendish back in those Tour de France days a couple years back when Cavendish won 4 stages at the Tour de France. We're not going to see anything that pretty of a team lead out. Biniam Girmay knows he's going to have to do something solo on today's stage. Just at about 1.6 kilometers to go, then we see Movistar come up the left side. They're flying fast. And then we see George Zimmerman. He's got to make a hard decision here because as the Movistar rider's pulling off hard right, Zimmerman's got to go all the way around the right and slot back to the left. But guess what? Biniam Girmay's already made the decision that he's going to have to do the finishing 1.5 kilometers on his own here. Zimmerman, I think when he slots back left, this is a bit of a mistake because he's going to trap his sprinter, Biniam Girmay, in there later. Now, as we come down to the finish, we'll see Biniam Girmay, and he's on the wheel of Battistella there from Astana, who's on the wheel. The Movistar riders there are doing a fantastic job here trying to lead out Cortinas. Now, as they're flying under about 1K to go, they still got the front 800 meters. Now it's Bahrain Victorious coming to the front, trying to lead out Fred Wright. As they take the front, I'll show you the overhead picture. Biniam Girmay's in a little bit of trouble. He's trapped. He's got his teammate, I believe Zimmerman, on the right side of him, and he's got him trapped in the wheel between the Astana rider Battistella and his own teammate. Biniam Girmay makes a smart decision at this point in time. He slots off, moves a little bit to the left, and now he starts flying up the left side of the road with about 600 meters to go. He's got to thread the needle there from the Movistar rider coming off the front that's dropping fast because Bahrain Victorious is going full gas. Now 300 meters to go. Biniam Girmay shows his true form here early in 2023 season as he throws in a massive acceleration going up the left side, passing everyone, leaving them in their dust all the way to the line. You see with about 75 meters to go. It's Cortinas back there. And you see it's the Jumbo-Visma rider Olaf Koy that's in the picture, but they're not anywhere close. When I give you the overhead picture, Biniam Girmay's got a gap, and he'll run it all the way into the line to win stage 1 here at Valencia. Now, I really wanted to cover the stage just to show you guys when we go back to that 800 meters, 1K to go, where we see Biniam Girmay's trapped and he has his teammate there, Zimmerman, on the right side. He knows at this point in time, and I believe, and I'd love to have an interview with Biniam Girmay to ask him, did those 2 stages from Mallorca, when we're talking about Palma and Salinas, did those 2 stages where he podied them, but looked like he had fantastic form, did those 2 stages of trying to follow the wheel of Mike Tunison teach him a lesson that sometimes you just got to go rogue and you got to just do your own? That's what he did on today's stage, but on top of looking at how brilliant his form is, you got to look at how he's jumped educationally with his team to know when to stay with your team and when to leave them. Anytime I was racing during my professional career, going for overall victories or wins in the one-day races, it was always a hard decision when you had to tell your teammates, just get out of the way and let me do my thing. And sometimes you got to do that, and today Biniam Girmay did. Now, I want to cover one other race. It's the Saudi Tour. We saw Jonathan Milan win yesterday's stage 2, and he beat Dylan Groenewegen coming up the left side and passing everyone and swinging hard to the right fencing. Now today's stage, after the hard 1 climb up to the finish and then 1K of rolling into the finish line, Jonathan Milan does the same tactic. He jumps at about 300 meters to go. This time comes all the way over to the right side and almost taking out the Cofidis rider's wheel. Now, we see that as the Uno X rider Soren Warrenskol come up the left side and just throw down on the pedals as it's a drag race all the way to the line. And finally, he overtakes Jonathan Milan to win today's stage 3 of the Saudi Tour. But yesterday's stage, I saw on the comments where a lot of people said Jonathan Milan should have been DQ'd for going all the way to the right side of the fencing. I was okay with yesterday's hard move to the right because he was about that clear of everybody's front wheel. But today's stage 3, I think Jonathan Milan should have been DQ'd on today's stage for almost taking out the Cofidis rider's wheel, which meant he would lose the race leader's jersey after today's stage. Instead, the officials, and this is the problem with the UCI, when they let these hard aggressive moves stay in effect, when clearly you can see by the overhead camera that he almost took out the rider's wheel, when you let these kind of tactics stay and keep playing, that's why the sprinters keep doing them. So today's stage at the Saudi Tour, I think the outcome should have been different, and I think Case Bowles should be the rider wearing the race leader's jersey at the Saudi Tour when we start tomorrow's stage 4 there. But I'm just up here on Beyond the Coverage, and I'm not one of the UCI officials, so you guys make the call yourself and leave a comment down below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and tell me what you thought about Biniam Girmay's fantastic first victory here in 2023. Congratulations, Intermarché. You guys are winning all over the place. I believe this is at least 4 wins here early in 2023 for you. And then when we're talking about Uno X winning in Saudi Tour today, congratulations, big time win. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition real soon.